This is Quentin Morbaugh.
This is Gabe Lara.
This is Jesse Rodriguez.
Taylor Rulo.
Zach Wilson, and you are watching the Walsh Reporters. Today we have a couple stories for y'all that we're going to get into, and I just want to ask you guys, how are you guys doing today?
I'm doing good. Doing alright.
Doing alright. First podcast, and I'm ready to get started.
There we go. Y'all got some good stories, right?
Yeah, ready to go.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. All right, let's get it started. So today I come with an interesting story. You think that all the sport opportunities in the world would be exhausted. You know, we've picked our favorite ones. We love football, soccer, whatever. But we've actually seen a new sport come into play. A Russian promoter is actually bringing out a new style of fighting, and it's actually medieval sword fighting. So, hey, I just want to read this to you. This is from the Huffington Post. A Russian fighter promoter is betting the country's next big sport revolves around armored knights, sword fighting each other in an octagon. Mixed martial art promoter M1 Global is launching a new fighting division that will focus on group bills as knight fights. The new division is called M1 Medieval. In its first fight held from veteran knight fighters. Oh, I'm gonna butcher these names. Evgeny something. Two weird Russian names. It actually happened April 10th in Moscow. And the event, what happened, it went on for 3 rounds. They fought for 3 minutes in each round. And it was just absolutely crazy. These guys come decked out. Like, it looks like a boxing match. Like, the dudes coming out, they have their pump-up music. They're covered in full, like, medieval armor. They have their swords, their shields. They're walking down into the octagon. It looks exactly like M1. It is absolutely crazy. What do y'all think? Like, what's y'all's first impression on that? Is that something that y'all would be interested in watching?
I would definitely be interested in watching. I think you could possibly just find a market for it. There was a market for Full Metal Jousting. I don't know if y'all heard about that, but that was also on Spike TV. They aired that, and it's exactly kind of, they come out decked out in full body metal armor gear. They ride horses. They're on different teams, and they come in and just joust. And whoever, it's like a competition. And if you win the competition, you got like $100,000, and you got like a bunch of incentives and your own horse or something. I don't know, but I mean, it was a pretty cool show. I only got to like watch an episode or two, but I would be interested in watching just 2 people just go at it like the gladiators and stuff.
For real, I mean, they just have their swords and they're literally beating each other with these
more
things.
Power to them on that. And like, I mean, if bringing a new sport, like, I mean, that'd be great. I mean, freaking boxing struggling. I would pay for a pay-per-view to see some jousting, see some armor, see these guys decked out and stuff. So I mean, hell, if they put horses in those octagons, I'll be so game to see that too.
For real. And just so people aren't freaking out, they use dulled swords.
Oh,
so,
damn.
Of course, they're not stabbing each other.
Oh, that changes everything.
There's not as much blood.
I'm not watching them.
There's not as much blood as there would be in MMA, just because you don't see it. I mean, I'm sure they get bruised up.
Oh, so it's safer. Safer.
How about you?
I mean,
would you watch it?
I feel like there's always a novelty in a new sport coming out. I feel like it could have a good following to start out, and people would enjoy it. I don't know how long it would last, but I mean, I would definitely go watch it.
Yeah, for sure.
Has it said any of the rules, like what are on there?
I didn't look at the specific rules, but there are illegal strikes and different things like that. I think there's also things that fall under just different MMA rules.
It can be like along the lines of like fencing, right?
Fencing, yeah.
Yes.
Generally.
Okay. So
Fencing.
heavy
With
armor.
a nice little costume.
Yeah.
So what do you think like the fighting regimen would be like for you guys, or like the training cycles? Like, I can't even picture, like, what do you do for that?
I mean, I think it would still be along the lines of like fencing, like training wise and everything, but I mean, you're not going to be in like a straight line platform. You're going to be in an octagon, so
True.
and you're going to be decked out in heavy freaking armor, so like
Definitely. I think that I would train in the armor constantly. You know how the MMA fighters, they'll do different strikes and ground moves and everything, and so with them, they'll have to practice their strikes. They'll have to I'd at least run around or at least be able to move around in the armor.
True.
So
I can only imagine that would just be like crazy hot.
Yeah, definitely.
I
Yeah,
mean,
it smell.
Like 3-minute rounds, like that's tough. I mean,
Burning calories.
Burning calories.
Yeah, some people can't even do like boxing rounds. Like there's like Joes versus pros.
Yeah, pros versus Joes.
Pros versus Joes. They'll bring in like a boxing expert. I think they brought in, I can't remember who exactly they brought in. It may have been Sugar Ray or somebody, but they had them go like they had last 2-minute, just 2-minute rounds, and the Joes are just going at it, just swinging like as fast as they can, and within the first 30 seconds to a minute, they're just like slowed down and they're tired. So I mean, I can only imagine 3-minute rounds, and what if you fall on your back? I mean, how
game over.
Yeah.
Dude, I'm just like trying to picture this, like them training, and like if they're commercialized it, like these dudes come up, you have like your professional like medieval fighter, and he's like, swords ready. I'm like, excuse my accent, but them just like having these ridiculous shots of them like slashing at like dead pigs or something. Like,
Armor takedown sponsors and stuff. So
oh my god,
That Rocky.
I didn't even think about it when I was watching. Like they didn't have anything on there. That could be a really cool opportunity for some people. Who would sponsor?
it's like
something
McDonald's
like
right on the mask.
Talladega Nights.
Yeah.
You can put the Wonder Bread right on the.
Wonder Bread right on the freaking sword.
Oh my gosh! So yeah,
Finish line on the chest.
Yeah, finish line right on the
Finish line.
chest.
Yeah, we already got finish line.
man, I'm really curious to see if that would take off.
Dude, I really hope it does.
I think that'd be cool. Just a new market to offer to. So.
Alright.
For sure.
So I brought another
Yeah,
interesting story. Brittany Griner, famous for her great times at Baylor, has recently been arrested on assault charges on her fiance, so domestic violence. And basically, they said that they've been really stressed with the playoffs and all of the WNBA stuff. So do you guys think, it hasn't really got a lot of news, but do you guys think any different because she's a girl compared to the Ray Rice kind of situation?
I don't think so. I mean, there's been a bunch of other female athletes, like Hope Solo. Didn't she get in trouble with that too, as well?
I'm not sure.
Or like the goalie for the USA soccer team. I think she went under like some domestic charges too. So I mean,
She may have had. Yeah, I think she was on the other end.
Yeah,
she was on the other end.
I think so.
She attacked?
Yeah, Brittany Griner attacked her fiance.
Shit.
Oh wow.
Oh dang. Well, I mean, it's the same thing, I guess. Like you can't really.
Were they like?
And so
Double
far,
standard
there's no sanctions, there's no punishment for her. She was arrested, but she was later released on bail. So I don't know.
What?
Holy crap.
That's crazy.
Was this in public?
It was at her own. It was at her house. They were fighting, and then her fiance ended up with a busted lip. She had bite marks on her hands, so it looked like it was a pretty crazy fight.
I mean, that's just interesting because you did bring up the Ray Rice thing, and like she's a professional athlete, and it just kind of shows you that like the NFL with guys, they're giving them so much more coverage, and like just because it's a bigger sport, they're debatably for some people, they're getting the punishment for that is way more than you know what Brittany Grimer's. She's not receiving anything for this, and it's kind
So
of
far.
So far, yeah.
So far.
Yeah, we have to see.
But I mean, at the end of the day, domestic violence is domestic violence.
Yeah.
What makes her case any different?
I think it's weird, and I'd like to see why there's been so many domestic violence issues so far. You know, we've had the Ray Rice issue, we've had the Adrian Peterson issue, and now Brittany Griner. But yeah, I haven't heard anything about the Brittany Griner. But that's crazy. I think that from the NBA women's commissioner standpoint, they should still take something up, because just because you're a woman doesn't mean any difference from domestic violence. Just like Zach was saying, you know, you have domestic violence is domestic violence.
Yeah. No double standards, kind of.
Right.
And another thing to mention is she is lesbian, so her fiance is another woman in the WNBA. So that's also another part of the issue as well.
It's two people in that WNBA.
Do you know like when the date was on this?
This happened Wednesday, and she was released at 4 a.m. on Thursday.
Oh dang!
So she's already out and walking around again.
Wow.
Well, like you said about the
Mhm.
Ray Rice situation, there's video about that altercation as well. So
Man, that
this
was a
one
game changer.
happened at our house. So
You can only
it's pretty
get
much
like two
it's
sides.
pretty much her word.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
We're
crazy.
gonna have to
I mean,
go off of.
it's kind of interesting to see how just because when people actually see the altercation,
Mhm.
you know, I mean, seeing a story adds more to it, but the punishment, do y'all think that it should be the same, right?
Yeah,
I personally think
I
so.
think it should be the same too.
It'll be interesting to see what happens with the story and see how that
Mhm.
unfolds.
Crazy, man. What do you got, Jesse?
All right. Well, what I have is another altercation between the Royals and the White Sox.
Okay.
I believe this happened yesterday. If I'm not correct. It was the pitcher Ventura
Mhm.
for the Royals, and the batter was Adam Eaton.
Mhm.
And I guess it was just leading up to the at bat, and once Adam Eaton grounded out, it looked like Ventura looked at Eden and told him "F you," which sparked, which pretty much sparked the fight.
Mhm.
And the benches cleared, the bullpen cleared, and I guess what I wanted to talk about is: do you think people would rather just see the game, or would they like a little fight in there as well? You know how hockey, everyone goes nuts when they see a fight.
Yeah.
Would it be the same if we see in a football fight like Andre Johnson,
Yeah.
or just pretty much play the game out?
Well, with hockey, people come to see the fights, but fights are okay. And then you only have like, they call it a major penalty, but it's only like 5 minutes. But as far as like the other sports go, it's not sanctioned for fighting. They don't embrace fighting. It's just what happens. With football, you're heated, and you're in the moment. You're playing 60 minutes. People are always like, they're touching on you, grabbing on
They're
you.
hitting you.
They're hitting you. They're just rough. Like, it's a rough sport. And I mean, you could say that for all sports, but they're just constantly on you. And so it's hard to say, like, if people, I think that with baseball, when you see a bench clearing brawl, it adds a little element to it because you're not expecting it.
Yeah.
And plus the Royals, this is almost I believe their second time. They just got into one with the Athletics not too long ago.
Correct.
And-
Brett Lowry.
Yeah, and so they almost got into one, and during that game there was 5 people ejected alone from the Royals, 3 players and 2 coaches, and so I don't know if that's what's the Royals' problem right now, but I mean, a while like last year we had, in the first month you probably saw about 4 or 5 brawls. I mean, it was a lot more than I was used to seeing.
Yeah.
So, do y'all have any other thoughts?
I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I'm not a big person for fights and people hurting each other, but that adds a lot of excitement.
Yeah.
That makes me want to go out to a game. I'm not a big fan of baseball,
Mhm.
but if there was a small chance that there would be a massive brawl, I mean, that might get some other people that normally don't watch baseball out to those games and excited about that.
Let's
Yeah.
get him some armor and some swords. Watch him go at it.
Yeah, put him in an
The
octagon.
entire team, the
They
entire
already have the
bench
bats.
runs off with their
Yeah, they
Yeah,
already
they
have
have the bats.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the bats.
There's,
What about
Oh
the
my
catches?
goodness.
I think it's also funny, but I think it's Taiwan, they actually, the way that they do their like brawls when pitchers or batters rush the mound to go after the pitcher, I've actually seen a video, they actually get up on one leg and start hopping around,
What?
and whoever pushes them over wins. Whoever pushes the other one over wins. I mean, I've seen a legit video on it.
Why are Americans so violent? They're like, I'm just gonna pound the crap out of you.
I mean, well, and then I mean, even some of the like pitchers. I mean, it can be a liability when they do fight though, because Zach Greinke last year, the Royals signed him to like $150 million contract, and it was like his first or second start of the season last year, and he hits Carlos Quentin, and he charges the mound, and Jack Greinke goes in with his left shoulder, not his throwing shoulder, his left shoulder, ends up breaking his collarbone, and he's out. And they just signed him to a $150 million contract.
Yeah.
And so there are risks when it comes to the fighting.
I mean, I feel like it's more of like the unexpectedness that really gets us, and then also the violence. I mean, you see sports out there like football and shoot, even soccer can be freaking violent at the headbutt and kicking to the chest and stuff like that. So I mean, I feel like on a very low key, we want to see violence like that. I mean, violence is a very undermining thing in sport. And, you know, you can see that in a lot. But it's whether it's, like I said, like it's going to be legal or not, you know, kind of. So, and whether it's sportsmanlike, like hockey, like you said, that's a part of like the culture. And you know, like whenever people throw the gloves off and they're grabbing the back of their jerseys and they're going to town, everyone freaking. I remember when I went to the Ice Bats game in Austin, they gave us pucks. And whenever you were on the wall, they give us pucks. And whenever they like slammed to a wall, they were supposed to grab the puck and hit the wall back. Like, so like you even got like the freaking crowd and audience interacted with the violence. So I mean, I was like 6 or 7.
That game, I'm kind of curious with, you know, you run cross country. Are there any type of like violence? I'm honestly curious.
Yeah.
Like, are there like a lot of shirt tugging or short pulling, or do people push their elbows into you? And
there's a like big thing. Like I said, like with cross country, like you have like 10 or 12 teams going at it, and sometimes like I ran. We went down to pre-nats. And, like, that's over, like, 14, 15 teams in one race. You got over maybe, like, 150, 200 people in, like, the whole event. So, like, I mean, most of the time it's, like, an accidental. Like, you can be, like, bowing up and stuff like that. But so there's some times, especially in track, you know, where some guy, you cut him off, they don't like that. And they'll take their spike and they'll try to poke you right in the back of the calf. It's like spiking. Like, you get spiked. Like, that's a term that we use that, like, we'll finish a race like, dang, man, I got freaking spiked, man, what the hell? So, I mean, there is, but, I mean, most of it's just like, I mean, I feel like it's just like any other sport. You just battle for position, try to get the top, and try to win, but, I mean, in doing so, you can have some kind of cheapness to it, some tugging and some pulling to that as well. So, so even with cross country, you can definitely have it, too.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting, just, like, kind of merge your story, Jesse, and the Brittany one. Like, it's crazy to think that if Brittany, say she was playing in a match against her fiance and they were to get into some altercation, there would be a very slim chance that she would run into any legal problems just because it's on a court and it's in like the sphere of sports.
But when she's outside, she gets arrested for it because the cops are called and domestic violence.
There could still be possible suspension of games.
Well, yeah.
But do you think that there should be actual like legal action for when stuff like this happens? Like for a baseball game, it's okay for them to go brawl each other, but what if that was out on the streets? Like they would all be arrested.
That's true. Yeah.
Freaking Ron Artest.
Yeah.
Meta World Peace. My bad. He changed his name, or I think he changed his name.
It's something
again.
Panda.
Whatever it is now. But I mean,
change it again?
Yeah.
I don't know, but that guy freaking climbed in, was punching people like left and right, like he wasn't even looking. It's like, you're in my way.
Actually, like within that video, there was one of the players. I forgot.
Jermaine O'Neal.
Yeah. He actually came in, and this guy was about to punch him, and he just comes up and decks him.
Yeah.
And he escaped legal issues because he said that Jermaine O'Neal said that he felt threatened.
And because the guy was on the court.
And
since
the guy was on the court, he got out of it.
Oh my goodness, that's ridiculous, man.
All right, Nick, you wanna go into yours?
Okay, yeah. Well, what I'm going off is kind of same thing, like deviance in sports, but coming up soon is the World Relays for track and field in the Bahamas, and basically
running in the islands.
Yeah, running in the Bahamas. Basically, I'll give you basically the World Relays is just only obvious relays, so there's no like individual events. It's all like batons and handoffs. So 4x1, 4x4, 4x2, 4x-mile. Well, USA is the reigning champs of that from last year, so we are defending the title on that. But what's the big controversy going on with it is that the head sprint coach, Dennis Mitchell, was once a banned athlete in the sport. And he is now the head coach again. So there's a bunch of controversy going on with like the USATF, and they're saying like, can we not find another sprint coach that did this legally? And they're like, and New York Times blew it up saying like, how dare they try to get a head coach that's once did something illegal of the same sport and to be the head coach and represent the United States in the Bahamas. And they made a big deal about it last year. Well, now this year they didn't do anything about it. They picked him again. So it's like crazy what's going on. So you have all that stuff, and then along with drug cheating, you have like Justin Gatlin, who just came off a ban, another sprinter, and then like we have multiple sprinters that's been in bans and been doing illegal performance. So like I guess my question right now is like, what does that show for like the United States, kind of the credibility on that idea of like cheating? Because like what I would say another thing, like what Bolt said like just the other day, that like he doesn't want to run against Tyson Gay because he says that he's just gonna be like, I don't know, like he said that he should have been banned for life. And like I guess comparing it to just sport, like what do you think about just like kind of that?
Yeah, I mean, I think. Oh, were you gonna say something?
You saying something, Jesse?
No, go ahead.
Okay.
I mean, a ban from a sport is a ban. Does it say? Does it say exactly what he got banned for?
Yeah, like it says like for Dennis Mitchell, it's a funny story. He got banned for like testosterone, and he blamed it on. He's honestly using this as his idea. He drank too much and had too much sex, and that raised his testosterone, and that's the reason why his test came positive. But not at all.
I mean, if he's not making the runners or giving the runners like illegal drugs or anything like that, if he's just coaching, I feel like it's a little different than if he was actually running in it.
Yeah, that's
well,
very true.
But same thing goes back to like if you take the Lance Armstrong case, you know, a lot of people at his time when he was first racing, they were doping, but a lot of them were like blood doping. But even Lance Armstrong's coach, you know, he participated in the doping. You know, they would take the blood out and then like put the blood back in when they were during race time. But here's a question that I have is, how long has he been banned for, and has that ban truly helped him and be like, no, I'm not going to supply any of my runners like any type of PEDs? Yeah,
well, like with the bans, like you also have like you can have like a 2-year ban, which is like kind of minor, and then you have like a minor 2 years. If we have a 4-year ban for something more extreme, and then you also have a lifetime ban. So if you do it more than once, you get a lifetime ban. And like for instance, like Justin Gatlin, he's also competing in this World Relays. He got banned for 4 years for cheating in 2006. So he just came back in 2010.
Oh wow!
And he's on the team. They picked him. And they also picked another guy who served a 1-year ban in 2013. So he's literally like fresh off the ban coming into it, representing fresh off the bandwagon, supporting, wearing the USA top, representing our country like that. And it's
I mean, that can create negative exposure. I think a lot.
Yeah.
I don't know how I feel about it, just because, you know, in America we have so many talented athletes. There's so many different people that could be running in Bahamas, and I think it puts a really bad name on us when people see it's like, oh, that cheater's leading their team. Like, they're probably, people are going to be suspect that other things are going to be going on, illegal practices, whatever. So I think they could have gone with someone else.
Yeah. Okay. Sure. Do you believe in like the one and done kind of with that? Do you agree with that? Or do you believe like, hey, you have mistakes, like?
Yeah, I'm a person to give grace and mercy. I feel like people can learn from their mistakes, and they can. But I mean, at this situation, at something like of such a big magnitude, like I said, there's always someone else that they could find.
Yeah.
So my topic is basically, I'm just going to piggyback off Gabe here, but I'm talking about PEDs in sports. Irvin Santana not too long ago maybe about 2 weeks ago, he gets suspended 80 games, which is in baseball, it's about half the season. He gets suspended 80 games for testing positive for stanozol, and this is actually the third penalty this year for stanozolol, and then there's 2 other ones. David Rollins, he's a pitcher from Seattle, and Arodys Vizcaino from Atlanta is also a pitcher. And so I'm just trying to figure out like why there's so many PEDs. With Ervin Santana's case, he said that he didn't know how the drug got in his system, and he apologized to the fans, to the coaches, to the players, and he basically just said that he's never been a type of guy to use performance-enhancing drugs. So he's just really curious, and he never will, and he's just really curious about being on how that drug got in his system.
I feel like a lot of people that do use those drugs say that. Like, I'm pretty sure I heard Lance Armstrong once or twice say, I did not.
I've never used performance enhancement.
Yeah,
drugs.
so, I mean, you gotta take his kind of word with a grain of salt, because, I mean, it's in his system. So, I mean, obviously it's there, but that's crazy. That's all happened in the same year.
Right, yeah, and then that's...
For sure.
Yeah, that this year, and it's already had 3 cases so far, and
Wow.
but I mean, Ervin Santana, this is his first time being caught, and with baseball, the rule is you have your first time you're getting caught, you get 80 game suspension. Second rule, it's 162 games, which is 1 full season, and then the third time you get caught, it's a full lifetime ban.
Okay.
And so that's how it works. Do y'all think that it should do 80 games, 162, and then the lifetime? Or do you think that they should kind of just be like, oh, you get caught once, you should be suspended for the full season. Next time again you get lifetime, or do you think it's fair how it is right now?
I think it's fair the way it is right now, and I say that because as a baseball fan, it's Q. It's just been we're just tired of all this steroids going on in baseball. It's just ridiculous, and so 80 games is fair enough for the first time. And see, baseball's even giving them a second chance. Okay, you've done it. We'll give you 1 year. And if they want to keep doing it, then they already gave them 2 chances. And
3 strikes, you're out.
3 strikes, you're out.
Exactly.
Oh man, I mean, I agree with that. I mean, how often do pitchers really play through those 80 games? Like in an 80 game span, I know because pitchers they have so many pitchers in bullpens. Like they do pitch a good amount of games between 80 games, right? Like half the season.
Most of your pitchers, like if he's your ace or your number 1 guy, then you'll see somewhere close to around 30 to 40 starts in the whole season. And usually as a pitcher, you'll get your opening day and then you'll rest 4 days and then go back at it and just keep, and then that's usually the rotation. These teams have a rotation, but as guys get plagued with injuries, that rotation can change, and so, but some of these guys are pitching 200 innings per year, 200 plus innings, and so it depends, and I can see why there's a lot of PEDs in baseball. I mean, you can look at Barry Bonds, Alex Rodriguez, Mark McGwire, Sammy Sosa. I mean, Alex Rodriguez, he's doing well too, and they just put in his contract, that if he breaks the home run record, then they'd pay him a bonus. Well, now that he just came off the suspension of the PEDs, if he goes after the home run record, they don't have to pay him that money, and he's going to see if he's going to refute that or not. But I mean, you just see a lot of positives in PEDs, and a lot of the thing is baseball, and and it is, I feel like, destroying the game sometimes.
Yeah.
The game I love is always just
The America's
it's PEDs.
pastime.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it's America's pastime, and you're always seeing PEDs. You don't see that in football. You don't hardly ever see that in basketball.
Yeah.
But baseball is one of the main sports that you see that in.
Mhm.
And are those suspensions without pay?
That I'm not sure of.
Okay.
I would think so, but the only thing that is in baseball, you have guaranteed money. Everything in there is guaranteed.
Oh,
Oh,
okay.
wow.
So we have no salary cap or anything like that. So all that money is guaranteed.
Wow.
So to me, a suspension just kind of seems like a slap on the wrist. Like, oh, you don't
Yeah.
get to play, but you're still getting paid. Like,
Yeah.
and I almost feel like it should be one season and then you're out because, like you were saying, they don't get to play all the games as it is. So like 80 games, I just feel like that's not enough if they are caught cheating PEDs.
At least for pitchers.
Yeah.
Pitcher definitely.
All right, guys. Well, thank you for tuning in. We are running out of time. Join us next week on our show. We're going to be answering some of our questions from some of our Twitter audience. Submit a question. We'd love to answer that next time. What do you guys think about medieval fighting? Do you think that it's going to be the next big thing? Or tell us your doubts. Well, thank you for tuning in to Walsh Reporters, and we'll see you all next time.